Why do you call it Pluto? Why do you call it Pluto? Why do you call it Pluto?
Because we're a million miles away.
What you mean? What you mean? What you mean?
The world of Pluto. The last planet. Icy cold body. It's out there by himself. We call it a cold world because this world that we live in here is a cold world.
Straight up.
Yeah, a million miles away.
Why call it Pluto?
Because we're a million miles away.
What you mean, like a million?
Yeah, like a million. We call it a cold world because this world that we live in here is a...
She wanted to know. At this point, I had been in medical for at least a week. The doctor had ordered an x-ray to be done on my stomach once a day. There were still 3 metallic items in my stomach. The razor blades didn't slice through my intestines. They passed through naturally, without causing any damage. This was a big relief. The suicide cell where I was placed was equipped with the brightest lights in the world. I used to think,
Man, I know you can see me, man.
all these lights. I was being observed by the guards and nurses 24/7. But she wanted to know.
Yes, I want to know. Why did you swallow those razor blades?
I was speechless. I didn't know what to say. I mean, just seeing her made my time stop. I could tell by the concerning look in her face and in her eyes that something was very wrong. She immediately drove from Texas when she was informed about my suicide attempt. She was on the phone back and forth with David L. Moss. She was allowed a special visit due to us being married. Now I've been around killers, rapists, child molesters, armed robbers, kidnappers, the most violent inmates in Tulsa all day, every day. And every now and then, I would still pick up a clipping from the local metro newspaper. I would still read these. And I read about the Sims girl. What she did, you couldn't even compare to the Jackal. Like a female Jack the Ripper. Her story blew me away. She was in solitary confinement with me on the girl's side. You could talk through the vent. Her story, the Ripper, it goes, Sims was in love with a married man. She was so in love with him, she didn't want to let him go. When the husband tried to break it off, he tried to break the affair off with Sims. When his wife became ill, that means Sims' intimate times with the husband were over. The wife had cancer. She died soon after, consumed with grief. The secret of her having a husband shamelessly called it off with Sims. After wife's viewing a couple of days before the funeral, the family grieved over her untimely death. Having been there for a while, the family decided to go have lunch together, then returned back to the funeral home and spend a little bit more time with their lost loved one. It was during this time that Sims snuck in with a pair of pliers in her hand, a doctor's scalpel, and a tube of red lipstick. She came prepared. In complete view of the funeral home camera, she pulled out her tools of destruction and went to work. She started to open the bottom end of the casket. When she got that open, she then used her pliers to rip the dead woman's toes off. She cut them off. Next, she pulled out her doctor's scalpel and cut the lady's breast off. Still not satisfied, she pulled out that red tube of lipstick and smeared it all over the dead woman's face, making her look like the Joker in the Batman movies. Completely desecrated her body. As calmly as she walked in,
She walked out.
the family soon returned to the funeral home and went back inside the funeral. Astonishing, no one had noticed what Sims had done. They were horrified, traumatized, and appalled from what they were looking at. Sims had left the bottom end of the casket open, which showed the lady's severed toes. Her top was spread open, revealing her breasts
That were cut off.
and placed on her stomach. But last but not least, the poor dead woman's face was made to look like
Like a cartoon character.
these stories. They eat at me. I absorb them. How could a person do another person like that?
Sims was scary.
Traumatized.
Yeah, she scared me too, bro.
I had to tell her,
I'm never coming home.
that's why I swallowed razor blades. I couldn't imagine a life without my children in it, forever knowing that I was to blame. I told her,
I hate myself. Okay.
that's honest. Deep inside, she had already known that I was going to prison for life. I told her these things. She told me.
Keep your faith. Talking to your wife. Suddenly,
From behind me, the door swung open. It was the guard. He told me
visit over.
I didn't want my visit to be over. After she was informed to leave, I started wigging out. I became a problem. I hadn't acted like this before. I cursed like a sailor as they forcefully led me back to Suicide Watch. Then the guard said,
Strip him of all of his clothes.
And take his sleeping bag like this. No.
the guard said angrily.
Take everything. I mean everything.
He said once more. They left me completely nude all the time on Suicide Watch.
I didn't give a fuck anymore.
I hated everything.
Why do you call it Pluto? Why do you call it Pluto? Because we're a million miles away.
Suicide Watch.
What you mean? The world of Pluto. The last planet. Icy cold body. It's out there by himself. We call it a cold world because this world that we live in here is a cold world. A million miles away.
Pluto, a cold world.
Because
Thank
we're a
you.
million miles
Yes,
away.
Me like a million.
Yeah, like